Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the weird, wonderful, and often slightly alarming stories behind everyday things. Today's mystery was sent in by one of our sharp-eyed viewers, Crispy Calvin 22. Thanks for the question, Calvin. You asked, how did we end up calling it a deadline? Deadline sounds like something ripped from a thriller movie. We use it for everything: term papers, work assignments, taxes. So today, we're diving deep into the bizarre, grim, and kind of ridiculous origin of the word deadline, from actual Civil War death zones to newspaper jargon to your Monday morning meeting. If you've ever wondered why your group project feels like a life or death mission just because it's due Friday, stick around. It's darker and dumber than you think, right here on Explaining Everything. Let's rewind all the way back to the 1860s. The American Civil War is raging. Soldiers are fighting. Stuff is on fire. People are dying. You know, classic 1860s energy. Now, in the middle of this chaos, there's a prison camp in Georgia called Andersonville. It was known for two things: being horrifying and somehow becoming the birthplace of the word deadline. Here's how it worked. They drew a literal line in the dirt around the inside of the prison yard. A simple, no-frills line. That line was called the deadline, and if a prisoner crossed it, stepped even one toe over the edge, they were shot. Instantly. No warnings, no timeouts. Just bang. Done. And that's it. That was the original deadline. A line. That made you dead. Zero metaphors. Zero corporate jargon. Just deadly geometry. So yeah, the first people dealing with deadlines weren't worried about turning in reports. They were worried about turning into corpses. Perspective, right? Okay, so that's terrifying. But how did we get from step over this line and die to get your spreadsheet done by 3 p.m. or Karen from accounting gets passive-aggressive? Well, after the Civil War, the word didn't just vanish. It stuck around and got adopted by, of all people, newspaper editors. By the early 1900s, in the printing industry, the word deadline was being used to describe a boundary on a printing press layout. If text or images went past that line, it would literally fall off the page or get cut off, like no one could read it. It was the Bermuda Triangle of newspapers. So in this context, the deadline wasn't about death. It was just the point where your article turned into blank space and your editor yelled at you. Progress? Still, the term kept the same underlying idea. Cross this line, and something bad happens. Maybe not a bullet, but definitely a furious editor named Bob with a red pen and too much coffee in his system. Fast forward a few more decades. The printing meaning of deadline starts to fade. And what replaces it? That thing we all know and dread. The due date. Except people didn't just say due date because that sounds soft, polite, reasonable. Instead, we stuck with deadline because apparently we all wanted our productivity to sound like a war crime. And here's where things get weirdly funny. We now use the word deadline for the tiniest, most harmless tasks. Need to send an email? That's a deadline. Upload a TikTok? Deadline. Clean your fridge before your mom visits? Deadline. We've taken a word forged in literal death and applied it to brunch reservations. Humanity is wild. But honestly, maybe that's part of the appeal. Deadline adds spice. It adds danger. Due date is a suggestion. Deadline? That's a line drawn in the sand, with consequences. It tricks our brains into taking things seriously. We're not just doing laundry, we're racing the clock. We're not writing a report. We're in a Mission Impossible sequence where everything explodes at 5 p.m. It's a form of self-imposed drama. And honestly, it kind of works. Panic is a powerful motivator. What's extra funny is how casually we use it now. You'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, I've got a deadline Friday," as if they're not literally using a word that used to mean cross this line and get executed. Imagine going back in time and telling a Civil War soldier, "Hey, don't worry. In the future, people will call it a deadline when their graphic design project is due." That soldier would probably laugh, cry, and then get confused by the concept of Adobe Photoshop. We've basically gentrified the word. We took a harsh, deadly piece of history and turned it into office lingo. Deadline went from life-threatening to Google Calendar notification. Would it be better to call it something else? Probably. Goal time, finish line, final push, even task o'clock. Anything less murdery would do, really. But let's be honest, deadline is stuck around this long for a reason. It's got flair, it's got teeth, it scares us into action, and we kinda love that. We're drama-loving creatures. We like urgency. And sometimes the illusion of doom is exactly what we need to stop procrastinating and just get things done. So next time someone says, "Hey, what's your deadline?" you can smile and say, "Well, it used to mean I'd be shot if I crossed a dirt line, but now it just means I need to finish this presentation before lunch." So, progress? Because language evolves, people adapt, and apparently we all respond really well to fear-based motivation. If you enjoy this video, or if you've ever stared at a deadline like it was a ticking time bomb from an action movie, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.